everyone. We want to welcome you today to the We Are Flora Pearl podcast. I am your host, Latasha J Humphrey, founder of the Flora Pearl Foundation Incorporated. I am really excited about this podcast today. But before we get started, we want to let our audience know that this podcast is being brought to you by the Flora Pearl Foundation, where our vision is bridging the gap, building a legacy. Our mission is that we are a 501c3, community-focused nonprofit mentoring organization, building healthy relationships and partnerships between women and girls through education, community service, networking, unification, and career planning. Our inspiration is Flora Pearl Humphrey. She was my paternal grandmother, and although she passed away in 2001 of a massive heart attack, what she taught me and my family was about faith, family, and community, which is where I draw my inspiration from. Now, audience, I have the pleasure of introducing this beautiful gem who is one of my sister friends. She is such an inspiration, and I love talking to her because she challenges me to go greater. She is a thinker, and she truly listens to people when they talk to get a clearer understanding, and that is to be admired. She is a part of my tribe, and I have so much love and respect for her. So without further ado, I present to you Kellie Clark. Hi, Kellie.
Hi.
How you doing?
This is so good. That was a very nice intro.
Oh, well, good. Look. Well, thank you very much. Look, no, it is such an honor to have you with us today. And if you would, just go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Oh, for sure. I'm Kellie Clark. I am a friend of Latasha's. She is my big sister. I go to her. She gives me come to Jesus moments. Latasha has a direct line to the Lord. So I know when I come to her, she got me. I am a wife. I am a mother. I'm a nonprofit professional. I'm an adventure seeker. I'm a friend. I'm a daughter. I'm lots of things. So I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. That is wonderful. And one of the segments, I just want to kind of jump right into it. I wanted to talk about that. Like, even when you're talking about, we joke about that. You like, you got to come to Jesus moments, or, but as it relates to, I think about your tribe and just motherhood and you preparing for that. I know you and I had a conversation prior to little Miss Avery making her debut on this earth. And I wanted you to kind of talk about even leading up to the conversation I know you had with me, but you have with other mothers as well. But what led you to do that as you prepared for motherhood?
Yeah, so for me personally, I wanted to be a mother in theory. I think, as women, you're taught that you get married, you have babies. That is kind of what, society subliminally tells us that is what we do. So I think in most women, in the back of our head, we know that those are supposed to be these like benchmarks. But I wasn't, my husband and I, we've been married. We were married for 2 years, and, we were just young, living life. And I was not planning on being a mother anytime soon. But it happened, and I'm so grateful now, but I was freaking out. Like, I did not feel prepared. And motherhood is one of those things, like marriage. You're never prepared. You can't. There aren't enough books you can read. And even in talking to all the women that I did, you still aren't fully prepared. Mm-hmm. But what led me to do that was I wanted to exercise wisdom by asking for wisdom. And so I was reading, Titus 2, and I decided, okay, I'm gonna get the women who I admire the most, and essentially sit at their feet and ask them questions. And that's what I did. And you were actually one of those women. And I did it because, that was my first exercise as a mother. I believe that you have to consistently stay self-aware if you are going to raise functioning, emotionally stable adults, you have to be self-aware. You have to be emotionally intelligent. And so that was like my first exercise in being a good mom, right? And noticing what my deficiencies were and asking for help. So that's why I did it.
Yeah. I just thought that was just really cool. And I know even at the baby shower, we got an opportunity, even again, everyone who was there, to share with both you and Collier, about that. And so I just thought that was pretty cool. And it maybe spark something in someone else who, just may be new to motherhood and just to ask those questions. And I do feel like you were saying, just that wisdom, that's what it's about, and it's being able to share and then also being able to ask for help when you need it. So that to me makes, as it relates to being a mother, that's what makes you strong or makes you superwoman, so to speak,
Yeah, that's what's up. And it's like, we're not called to be perfect mothers.
Right.
We're called to be faithful mothers, right?
That's right.
And we're not supposed to be, the Lord of our children. We're not supposed to be their functional savior. We're supposed to steward them. That is what we are charged to do.
Yes.
As mothers. We are to steward our children's soul. We are to be their blueprint. And there is really no way to do that, I feel, without having a community around you that you can go to for help. Now, everybody does not have that.
Right.
But, and we talk about this all the time, Latasha, where there's deficiencies, God's grace abounds. So he fills those holes, And so if that's something that you want and you're faithful in pursuing that, it'll be there. You'll get wisdom when you need it. But yeah, man, it's just one of those things where I didn't know I was doing.
Right.
I had no clue what I was doing.
Right.
And I was so grateful for you because I really admire the way that you steward your children.
Well, I thank you for that. It's amazing you use that word because I remember a situation back in 2005 where I literally cried out to God and I said, if you don't help me, I'm not going to make it. And at the time, my children were 5 and 2. And I just remember him speaking just as clear as you and I are speaking. And he said, those are my children. And he said, you are a steward and you are to teach them what I teach you, And so I just think when you just said that, I was like, okay, I'm like, was she there? Was she there? But no, but that's it. You are to be a steward. And so the fact that you said that, I just think that's awesome. So, and you're just, you're on the right path. And I wanted to ask, just like you were saying with, that community around you, kind of the next follow-up, is about raising, brave girls and, a support system. And I wanted to ask you, exactly what does that mean? When you hear that, what does that mean to you?
For me personally, my thought is or Collier, can you hear me?
I can.
I switched.
Yes.
Okay. What that means to me is if I fell off the back of a truck tomorrow, right, will my child be not just physically supported, but emotionally and spiritually supported? Are there people who I can curate and organize in our lives to, if something happens to me, if something happens to my husband, they got her holistically? Not just clothed and fed, but mentally, spiritually, they got her. And what I found is, I have a lot of people in my family that are that. But I have even more friends that are that. And it really taught me, especially in our community, you really do have that blood is thicker than water. Being a mother challenged me to look beyond that. And I have so many friends in my community who I know if push came to shove, that they got me and they got Avery. And I really know if something, God forbid, did happen to me, she'd be okay. Holistically, she'd be okay. So that's what it means to me. In my absence, is my child going to be okay? That's my barometer. And that's actually the new litmus test for my life as I introduce new people in. Like, could they be in my family? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and even with that, I know we talk about definitely the young people, them having support systems. How is important? How important is it for us as women, in your opinion, to have support systems?
Yeah. I think it's really important because there are just so many things. As a woman, there's so many identities that you have, right? You can be a mother, you can be a wife, you're somebody's daughter, sister, friend, you're who you are at work. Women do a lot of code switching in a period of 24 hours. And it's really important for us to have just that solid foundation of people that we can take off the mask with and be real with. I think if you don't have that, you really do forget who you are. And like, you get lost in translation because you're constantly switching it up. You're constantly taking off one mask, put on another in different environments. And I don't mean masking in a fake way. I mean it in a survival way. I mean, that's just something, especially Black women, that we have to adopt early on.
Yeah.
And without that core, you will forget who you are. And so I have a small circle of friends, smaller than a Cheerio, yo. I mean, if you can't count it on one hand, to me, it's too many. But yeah, they keep me grounded. They call me out on my stuff. They let me know when I'm slipping. They pray for me. I remember I had one health scare, and a friend was like, "Okay, I'm coming." She came to my house and laid hands on me and prayed. Like, these are the type of people. Even if you got one that you need.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what I would do without that. Especially in the last maybe 3 years, there's just been so many transitions. Even, I moved to Ohio. And so I moved away from my friends and my family, and I got this card. I still to this day, do not know who this postcard was from. I know it was a female, but I got this postcard, and it was just like, "Hey, thinking about you. You're going to do great." Just very encouraging words. I have no clue who that was from. So person, whoever, if you're listening, I really appreciate it. It's in my Bible. I keep it as a bookmark. But yeah, we need that. We need it to stay sane.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Would you say a person, whoever you are?
Whoever you are, that I needed that at that time.
Yeah. Well, that's how things come, though. It's usually when we do need them, and sometimes it really doesn't even matter where it came from. It's just the fact that it was sent and someone thought enough, and then it came at the right time. So that's perfect. And so we're going to kind of segue into that. I don't know if it's necessarily controversial, but one thing I know about you is you're a straight shooter as it relates to like things that you feel. Definitely, we get on your page, stuff you post on any social media. I just say, right. Okay, audience, if you ever have the opportunity to see Kellie Clark's post, some is funny. It's you and my god brother. Y'all just keep me rolling. Like, I just know I can get on there and I see either one of y'all and I'm just gonna laugh about something, or just just be enlightened or something like that. So just a few things I want you to kind of touch on, and it's just to give your take on it. And one of the things, definitely as it relates to, and it's really kind of the social media challenges, or just different things that are out there, and I would say issues, I guess, that's kind of out there. We get what's called opinion news. I remember Denzel calling it that. He was like, there's a lot of opinions a lot of times, but sometimes it's certain things that are out there, and I just want to get your take on it. So the situation that happened with, we call her affectionately Auntie Maxine Waters, and kind of the Bill O'Reilly situation. I wanted to get your take on that.
Lord, have mercy, Bill. He's gone, right? Isn't he gone?
Yeah, he left. They let him go, I guess you could say.
Okay. Yeah, like, won't he do it?
Oh my goodness. Disclaimer, everyone. Look, no, go ahead.
I just think it was like the quintessential, like, angry old white guy move. Like, and you know what? I'm not convinced that he would have ever spoken of a professional, seasoned white congresswoman in that way. He wouldn't have attacked her look. And the reason I say that is, especially with his generation, he does not, let me rewind. Black women's femininity is not respected. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much in every culture, for better or for worse, women are, for better or for worse, can be off limits as far as insults. There's a way that a gentleman is supposed to act, right? Now, obviously, we know the Bill O'Reilly is not a gentleman, but it's always been interesting to me to watch how white men, really older white men, interact with older black women. Just the absolute lack of respect, and almost they interact with them as they're interacting with a male. You get what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I can come to you, like I would come to a man, right?
Wow.
I can be as brash and as crass to you as I would with a man. I don't have to, they're not necessarily concerned with our sensibilities. They're not concerned with bringing offense to us. And so to see him mock this congresswoman who's been in the game for years, who's a beautiful black woman,
right,
and compare her to a man, James Brown, nonetheless, honestly, it was one of those moments like, hashtag typical. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hashtag typical. I'm not a fan of Bill O'Reilly. I love Auntie Maxine. I'm not familiar, I'm familiar with Maxine Waters. I'm not as familiar with her work, say, 2 decades ago. So I want to go back and see, did her level of brashness, did that ferment over time? Because now she's at just this stage in her life where I got receipts, so I'm going to say and do whatever I want. Or has Auntie Maxine just always been trill? That's what I want to know.
Right.
Like, has she always been that trill? Or was she like a lot of the rest of us? Young, code switching, and in some cases holding her tongue as not offend and not to come off like an angry black woman? Or has she always been trill?
Right.
I'm curious. I need to go back and look at that.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. I mean, when you talked about that, even in being the angry black woman, that's a lot of what we have to deal with as women of color a lot of times. Not coming across as that everything that we do is almost as though, and a friend of mine asked me one time about that. She's Caucasian, and she said, do you feel that way? Like you have to do that? And I said, yes. I do feel like there are certain times when you don't want to come across a certain way. So you may even kind of bow out gracefully on some stuff.
For sure.
Yeah. Just to not even go there. And then, of course, there are times when it is what it is. But you try not to let it be that all the time, because that is the stereotype and it's unfortunate. But, I just, we just have to keep speaking out and being able to voice whatever's necessary. And I say we have to do it for our girls, coming behind us. So yeah.
And you said something there, because I think when you're younger, you do a lot of that, especially like my mother's a baby boomer, right? And so her generation was very big on respectability. And, if you're in an office setting, you straighten your hair, you do this, you do this. You do all the things that you need to do to be palatable to whiteness, right? And, our generation, my generation, we're like, hold up, what if I don't want to be palatable? Why do I have to be palatable? Why do I need to do that? And so I think that's interesting what you were saying, how we black women have been conditioned by previous generations to acquiesce in a lot of spaces.
Right.
and just, we're just so used to being policed, and it really, and I find myself doing that sometimes. You know, you ask yourself, is it worth it? But sometimes it's like just our mere existence. Like, I'm not even raising my voice at you. Like,
right,
I'm asking you a question, and your fragility downloads that as me yelling or being angry.
Right.
And so it makes me wonder, like, if I carry on like that, what message am I sending to my daughter? Right.
Right.
That she has to hold her tongue and mince her words, and so then we can continue this cycle of, we can only be taken seriously if we're palatable, and even then, you know, we still are gonna meet those challenges of not being taken seriously. So you might as well just be, you know, black as you want to be.
Right.
You might as well, you know, answer in the tone that you want to answer. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I think, you know, the best thing we could do, and what I'm, you know, even with my daughter and raising her, I mean, she'll be 14 next month. We're like, okay, really? You know, it's like 14, really? But, but I was telling her, of course, you know, because I do remember being raised to not say certain stuff. Even if I felt it, I could think it could have been a great idea. But it definitely, I guess, you know, and wanting to do it respectable to an adult, being able to say something, I wasn't able to do that. And I said, I learned to be quiet about a lot of things. And so with both of my children coming up, you know, there are times I have to help them balance it, because they, you know, they do voice. I do give them opportunity to speak their minds. And but I do have to teach that balance.
Yeah.
Because even with my daughter, I mean, I was saying with her, we were talking, and I just said, I don't want you to be where you're a punk, or you let somebody, you know, you don't get a chance to say something. However, when it comes to people in authority, there is a way to do it without coming across, you know, you're assassin, or, you know, I mean, anything like that, like it's being disrespectful. It's a way to do it. And so I would rather for her to learn it here. I said, this is training ground. Then for you to get out there, like build that wall, build that strength and that courage, that being brave, that, you know, having a voice, but then knowing when to use it. I think that's the power. It's not always being the loudest one in the room, or you feeling like you have to, you know, I have to have the last word. What it really is about is using your intelligence along with what's coming out your mouth and letting that be the power, you know?
Exactly.
So yeah, so it's I mean, it's definitely a constant, you know, but we do have to teach them, and so it's kind of that each one teach one. So but yeah. And so the next thing I wanted to ask about was Serena Williams and Alexis, and I it was her fiance, because I can't pronounce his last name. I don't think I'm going to pronounce it right. But a statement that she made most recently, you know, it had some people in an uproar. I saw it on social media actually today. And what she said was, when I date someone, I never see color. I date who I have chemistry with. But I must say, Alexis has treated me better than any black man I have dated. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I wonder, has Alexis treated her, when she says Alexis has treated me better than any black man I've ever dated, I don't know if that's necessarily, if that could be attributed to Alexis's whiteness, and I don't know if that can be attributed to your ex's blackness. You know, maybe Alexis is just the man for you.
Right.
Maybe you're just partial to the way he treats you because that's the man for you. And you know, my husband's white, right?
Yeah.
And I've dated black men. He's the only white man I've dated, and we ended up married. And I can attest to, I don't know if I totally agree with, when I date somebody, I don't see their color. I mean, you do.
Right.
Like,
right.
you know that person is white. You know, you have conversations, you know that person's white. Like, the problem stems from if you're like, I only date white men. Because that's anti-black. Like, okay, why do you only? Because, you know, that's just weird. Because a man is a man is a man. I don't care what color he is.
Right.
He's still a man, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there is this idea, because I've seen, now that you mentioned, I've seen comments floating around and online. There's this idea that black men will treat you one way and white men will treat you another way.
Mm-hmm.
From my experience, that's not true. There are differences. But I've never met a black man who was just a straight full-on dog. Like,
yeah,
they've all been great human beings.
Right.
And so it's just, to me, it's just a matter of who treats you well. Now, I will say, like, I've been in relationships with black men, and like, I'm natural. And when I was thinking about going natural, they were like, no, why would you do that? Your hair looks great straight. My husband was like, dope, let's do it. I think it look good. And
yeah.
that's because my husband isn't necessarily socialized to think that a black woman is only attractive with straight hair. Black men have been socialized just like black women. We have these images of beauty that have been pressed on us for centuries, and so we've downloaded as beauty as straight hair. And that's not necessarily that's one difference that can exist. That is one difference. An example of a difference that exists simply because of the way a black man has been socialized and a white man has been socialized. And there are other little things too.
Right.
But a man is a man is a man. So I wonder, like, is this different because those men just weren't right for you?
Right. And I hate to say, I hate the term, and I know hate is a strong word, but when people say all men or all women or, and she didn't say, I'm not going to say that's what she said, but then when people internalize that, that's what they get out of it. So when you see it or you see that particular quote that she said, it has some of our men in an uproar and even some of the women, it was some different comments, but we know, Serena she loves her, her people. So it's not, as though she hasn't been proud to be, a black woman. That's definitely not the case. So that was kind of, even in the article that I read, that particular one, that's what they were saying, so it's not like she's not attached to her blackness. It would be totally different if it were that. But just like you just said, I think that it wasn't I mean, of course, it's just an interpretation. And so it's nothing. It was just definitely for us to have a conversation about it. But I don't, just like you were saying, I think that it's a preference of how that person treated her. And sometimes we just, whoever we connect with, that's who that person is. I mean, that's just, that's who they were even at that time. Because even at a time when even you dated someone else, they connect in that moment. It was something you loved about each other, Yeah. And so,
I will say that things get lost in translation and things get lost in print.
Yeah.
But I think, when you make statements like, this person who is white has treated me better than any of the men that I've dated have been black, you have to ask yourself, okay, the things that have been negative in my relationships with black men, have I subconsciously been attaching those negative qualities to their blackness?
Yes. And the thing about it, I think about my spiritual father. He always jokes about this because especially when he talks to singles, but he said, out of 7 billion people in the world, you haven't dated every man or every woman, so it's, you have plenty others.
Girl, you was dating Drake. Like,
look, I'm not going to go there with you.
I'm just saying, like, it's not like,
what you said, was it someone of caliber who intelligently, like, he really, he was just, he's known to kind of, get around. So I don't know what her barometer is, like what she's measuring up against, but I just thought it was a conversation piece to definitely hear your take on it. So, but just when you just mentioned too, even about your husband, I wanted you to share, as it relates to marriage, how did you know he was the one?
how did I know he was the one? Well, I think we've had this conversation. So I've known my husband since we were teenagers, and we were friends for years. And we both dated, different people. And when I was in grad school, I was dating someone, and we were very serious, and that's the person that I thought I was going to marry, and it didn't work out. I had a list, and ladies, we have lists.
Right.
Okay, and I had a list. This well, he gonna be tall, he gonna look like Shamar Moore, he gonna like all these things. I had a list, and he was everything on my list. And so when I got into this relationship and it wasn't working, I was like, hold up, but he is everything on my list. So what's wrong with me? Like, something has to be wrong with me. Because essentially he was perfect. But it just wasn't working. And we ended things. And during that time, my sister was terminally ill with breast cancer. And Collier, my husband's name is Collier, he had been a part of our family for 10 years because we've known each other since high school, and my sister loved him. She was rooting for him when we were like 17, 18 years old. She was like,
right,
this is him. And I was like, no. And the night that my sister died, I was away at college, and I called him and I was like, can you just go be with my family, because I couldn't be there. And he got up and he went, and he was there, and he was with, he stayed with my nephew, who at the time was only 12, so his mother passed away when he was 12. And it was really like that entire time, just the way he handled me. He had watched her decline with health. He'd watched essentially my mental health decline during that time. And just the way he took care of me, and the way he loved my family, and the way he loved my mother, and the way he just showed up, and he was just a rock. And I felt safe. And it was really it was Christmas of the following year, and he was over, and I was like, let's do this. Let's just try. And we did. And here we are. We got engaged, and we were engaged for a year, and we got married in 2013.
Wow. Yeah, I know. I love the wedding. I talk about it. I've shared it with a few people when we're talking about just weddings, because and I just loved how, it was funny to me, and be real, when you talked about when it came down to the wedding party, y'all, Kelly is something serious, but I mean, the wedding, it was gorgeous. But when it came to the wedding party, she had the couple of people she wanted to stand with her, and Collier did, and it was a wrap. Like, it was like,
it was a wrap, because it's like, I did not have bridesmaids.
Right.
And I started off, like, I had a list, and I had let people know, they were going to be bridesmaids, and
right.
It just got too complicated.
Yes.
We got different personalities, and nobody fell out. It was just, I'm not that super girly girl who loves to plan like parties and things. And it was just too much. And then I was like, really, who do I want standing next to me? And so I picked my nephew, my sister's son, because obviously my sister would have been my maid of honor.
Right.
So my men of honor was my nephew and my big brother.
Yeah.
And my nephew's father, my sister's husband, was also there. So I had my men of honor.
Yeah.
And then Collier had his people. So
yeah.
It was cool. Like, it made the picture
It really
cool.
was.
Like, I had like a big bodyguard, like all these bodyguards.
Right. No, I loved it. I just said, wow. Because I know, when you were talking about initially leading up to that, and just deciding, like, I'm not having bridesmaids, like, this is how it's going down. And I just said, okay, only Kelly would do that, but it's real though, because you want the people to stand with you who, you love them, and they love you. And just like you said, it meant something for them to be there. And no disrespect to, the bridesmaids or anything like that. So I just thought that was pretty cool. Well, I definitely wanted to kind of segue into, you are this outdoors person, and definitely like you always talk about with your natural, and so and how you gotta try to keep that together and still wanting to be outside and do your outdoor type stuff, which well, I guess in culture theory, is not really what we like to do as people of color, trying to get outside and definitely with natural hair and things like that. But I wanted you to share about what you're doing right now with the OutdoorAfro and you being a team leader, which I got a chance to see your different pictures, and I just think is really exciting, and I congratulate you on that. But I wanted you to share more. You're welcome. But to share more about that particular organization.
Yeah. So OutdoorAfro, it's an organization. It's based out of Oakland, California. And there are OutdoorAfro chapters in 20 states and 32 cities. And basically the mission is to foster Black connections in nature, to inspire and celebrate Black connections in nature. So we're essentially a group of Black people who love to go outdoors. The leaders, some of them, they skydive, they rock climb, they've hiked all 2,000 plus miles of the Appalachian Trail. It's really cool because you have these group of men and women who are just shattering stereotypes, and that's what attracted me to it. I love the organization because I love being outdoors. But I never see people who look like me outdoors. And so I was in college and I was kind of searching for people who look like me, Black people who enjoy being outdoors. And I stumbled on them like in 2008, maybe. Mm-hmm. And just kept following the blog and just the emergence. And then I saw, you can apply to be a leader. And I did. And they accepted me, and here we are. So we're starting a OutdoorAfro chapter in Birmingham, Alabama, and we'll be hosting different events. We're shooting for one event a month, and it can be anything from hiking, it can be rock climbing, it can be kayaking, it can be just chilling at the park, flying a kite, just to get Black folks outside and reconnecting with nature. Because, one of the things that we talk about in the organization is that it's not that Black people don't swim, okay? It's not that we don't, or we just are adverse to it. There was legislation that prevented us from swimming. I mean, the last public swimming pool wasn't desegregated into like the late 70s. We didn't have access to bodies of water to learn how to swim. And, we go swim in a pool and then they drain it or close it down. Black people, we have a very traumatic history with the outdoors. Even your grandma tell you, don't go nowhere alone in them woods. Mm-hmm, why? Mm-hmm. Black men and women were lynched in the woods.
Right,
we didn't have we don't.
It's like a luxury.
The outdoors as leisure.
Yeah.
We interpret the outdoors as work. Mm-hmm. We interpret the outdoors as trauma. And so the purpose of OutdoorAfro is to essentially say that, yes, this is the history of the outdoors. This is what has happened to Black bodies outdoors. But that does not have to be where we are now. And so it's about fostering healing. It's about taking our inheritance, because there is not a place, there is no national park that you can go to in this country where Black people haven't left a footprint. We're everywhere in nature, from the Buffalo Soldiers to Harriet Tubman. Like one of the OutdoorAfro leaders in South Carolina, I forget the name of the river, but it was the river that Harriet Tubman crossed when she was transporting slaves through the Underground Railroad, and they actually held an event where they went kayak down that same river, and from what I hear, it was hard, so we have connections to nature. It's our inheritance. We just, have to realize that this belongs to us. We built this country. We stewarded this land. So yeah, that's what it's about, is getting in these spaces and realizing that we belong here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like the main thing that draws me to this organization, is essentially rewriting the narrative and the healing that can happen outdoors and the reclaiming it. So it's really dope. If anybody, go to, OutdoorAfro.com, check it out, read about it. If you're in the Birmingham area, you can go to our meetup page, Outdoor Afro Birmingham, join, and you can get alerts on when we're having different events. And if you're not in Birmingham, if you're in any major city around the country, there is an Outdoor Afro somewhere near you. So yeah, man, I met my tribe. That's my tribe right there.
Right. I love it. And if you would just go ahead and share, I know that's one of the ways as far as community service and just, what you're doing within the community. But if you would, share other ways that you're contributing to the community as well.
Yeah, so mentoring. I love mentoring young women. I used to work with a local organization here in Birmingham, and I kept in touch with a lot of the young women who were in that program. And the previous job that I had with a nonprofit called Leading Edge, we had women who were we would train them, leadership training, to prepare them for college and to prepare them for civic engagement. And I keep in touch with a lot of them too. And moving back to Birmingham, I'm really making it my business to, before I was doing too much. Mm-hmm. And I was doing too much for the show. Like, I was involved in things that I wasn't really passionate about. It was just another thing to add to my resume, and it looked good. And then coming back, I took so much time off, and I'm really looking forward to connecting to things that I'm passionate about. So it's Outdoor Afro, mentoring girls, mainly middle school age. And also, I really do want to get connected with Susan G. Komen here locally. And those would be my 3 passion points, and I'm done.
Right. Right.
Stay in my lane.
Stay in your lane. Now that sounds great. No, but to even know that, and then that's the thing too. I appreciate you even sharing that, how you can get burnt out from just doing things, just doing them. And just like you said, even because it, not that your heart wasn't in the right place to want to help, but you did have another agenda, to make sure like my resume is good and, but I'm spreading myself thin, and now you can really focus in. And I think your efforts, you'll see that they're even more productive in doing that. So I, just hats off to you for that. And I wanted to kind of segue into really mother-daughter moments, and we have mother-daughter bonds. And one of the things I wanted to ask you was, as it relates to your mom, even what has your mom taught you about yourself?
My mother, one thing I can say, she prepared me to be a functioning human being. And what I mean by that, like, my mom used to do stuff like this. My mom used to I remember I needed a job. I didn't need a job. I was like 15. I wanted a job. Mm-hmm. And she was like, okay, you want a job? Good. She said, put on some clothes. I put on, something semi-professional. We drove to the Galleria, and she dropped me off. She said, don't come back without a job. That's like,
okay, Mama.
That was Shirley. No, she said, don't come back without an interview. And so I remember it was at the Galleria, and it was super early because no one was there. Right. So it had to have been like right at 10 a.m. And I just walked around the mall and gave out resumes. There was also another instance where we were at, you remember Central Plaza?
Yeah.
Okay. So every girl, you get to this point where you start to feel yourself. You're cute, you're developing, you start to take out your hair out the ponytail and wear it down. You know how we do it. When your mama starts she let you do your own hair. Right. So that's how you're like teetering on young womanhood. And my mom, I wanted to go somewhere, Claire's or something like that, and she said, "Okay, go." You know, Central Plaza, like, you know, it was young boys all in there. I was like, you know, you want to come with me, you know?
I
And
know,
she was like, no,
right?
I believe you can handle yourself. Just come back here, you know, in 30 minutes. I was terrified to walk through that mall by myself. And there were like all these teenage and older boys, and, you know, they catcall you and all that. But in retrospect, looking back, my mother was very intentional about me as a young woman being capable and me knowing how to take care of myself and not being easily intimidated. That was really big for Shirley. You're not going to be intimidated. And so she really taught me the value of, I don't know, I guess the value of being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I really appreciate that, because to this day, even in those moments where I feel uncomfortable, I think I can lean into it a little bit better. Just because of the way she framed discomfort. It doesn't feel good, but it's not bad, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Wow,
yeah.
that's good stuff. Wow. And I wanted to ask you a few things, and this is kind of like a fun area. And I call it mother-daughter bonds, and it's really an opportunity for mothers and daughters to have this particular conversation, with one another, or to just learn these different things about one another. But it definitely is a way for our audience to know more about you. And so I'll ask you different things, and you just answer them. So you ready?
Okay, sure.
All right. What book most influenced you?
Probably Their Eyes Are Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston.
Okay. And what keeps you grounded?
Ooh, now it's my daughter.
All right. What are 3 qualities that got you where you are today?
Ooh, 3 qualities. My empathy.
Okay.
My objectiveness. My objectivity. The third one, probably my sense of humor. I don't take myself too seriously, so I say those 3.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe.
No, that's I can see that. I can see that. What question do you wish more people would ask you?
Oh, that's good. One question I wish more people would ask me. Probably, how are you doing? And like really mean it.
Right.
You know? Like,
Yes.
hey girl, how you doing? No. Hey, how are you doing? Really?
Right.
I think that's a question we all just need to ask people and be
Sincere.
honest and honestly want to hear what they have to say.
Right. That's a good one. No, that's really good. And what is the last thing you binge watched?
Ooh, I'm actually in the middle of it. At the tail end, they show 13 Reasons Why.
Oh my goodness. See, I watched it with,
Girl.
oh my goodness. I watched it with Zaria. We had to do like 2 days. And then I think we skipped through a few of them. We just saw it online where they gave the summary. Kelly, that's too long. We did a half. It was like almost a whole day. I said, what? That was just for half of them.
Yeah, it's heavy. Like,
It
basically,
is.
Avery's not going to school, so.
Oh my word. You cannot. Anyway. No, but I encourage each, teenage parents definitely to watch it with their teenagers. I think that it is a conversation piece, and that's what we were able to talk about it. But her peers were talking about it at school, and so she asked, if she could, and I did. I watched it with her, But yeah, it was long and heavy. So yeah, if you're in the middle of it, I can understand because you're gonna have to carve out some time to watch the rest of it. But but yeah, what What is something that you believe every woman should try in her lifetime?
Shave her head.
Okay. Now, what if her hair, how our heads all the time, like, I'm keeping it real.
You mean when she has a peanut head?
Right, or if it's not quite molded in that round form, how would she do that?
You don't know until you shave.
You know what? You're not gonna have folks shaving. Now, you need to, if they massage their heads and it ain't quite curved, it's not quite rounded.
Okay, I'll say this. I think every woman at least once should cut their hair very short.
I got you.
Very short. You don't have to go, sis, listen, if you hear me, you don't have to get your booze clippers. But I think at least once every woman should cut her hair really short. Because then you see just how fluid beauty is.
Right. Well, I've been there. I've done it. It's been a while, but yeah. Okay, what is advice you would give to a woman with a broken heart?
It's temporary. It really. The advice I give to a woman with a broken heart. I would probably give advice like, let's look at the opportunity in this. Because it may be a no, but a yes in disguise. He just probably isn't the dude for you, and that's okay. You may have dodged a bullet, which is usually the case.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, we're going to move into what is our faith segment. And in this, I definitely like our guests to share a time when their faith has been tested and how they came through it. And so I want to ask you to share that.
My faith has been tested. Okay. I think the moment when my faith was tested was right after my daughter was born in 2015, and I had a bout with postpartum depression.
Okay.
And which was shocking to me because I've never had a history of mental illness, and I didn't believe postpartum depression was real, you know. And I come from a very just walk it off, pull yourself up by your bootstraps type of family. And so when it hit me, I kind of ignored it. I just chopped it up to a lot of different things. And also, I didn't experience depression like a lot of other people. I didn't know that it can manifest itself in different ways, just depending who you are. For instance, I wasn't like laying in the bed all day and sleep, and I was extremely high functioning. Actually, I was too high functioning, apparently, after I talked to a professional. And so I didn't know. And it was one night I was laying in the bed and I had a panic attack, right? And I never experienced, and I read that can be a symptom of postpartum depression and anxiety. And I felt like I was going crazy because I'd never felt that out of control. And I'll say you really don't understand depression. I'm not talking about grieving. Just because I'm not talking about like when you have someone you love die and you grieve. I'm talking about like legitimate hormone imbalance, depression, and anxiety.
Wow.
It knocked me on my butt. And I was lucky that I had a husband who I could talk to about it. I couldn't talk to my family about it, not even gonna lie. Because you know how black folks are, like, pray it away. That type of thing.
Go talk to Jesus. Look,
you can do both.
Right.
So he was really like the only person I could talk to about it. And I had at the time a prayer closet. Now there's stuff in it, but I would go in my closet and literally just worship. For months, that's what I did. Did it make it go away? No. Absolutely. I didn't go in the closet and come out a new woman. I was literally hanging on by the skin of my teeth. But I made it to the next day. And then I made it to the next day. And then I made it to the next day. And so, yeah, it was a shocker. I didn't think, depression was real. I didn't think postpartum depression was real. Like, genuinely brought on through just all the hormonal stuff that happens with having a baby. But it is. There was a woman in my mom's group who had it, and she killed herself. It was in the news. She dropped her baby off, and she drove to the woods, and she committed suicide. And that actually happened on the tail end of mine, and it just made me realize, like, whoa, like, this is deep. And there are actually very little resources. If you even Google postpartum depression support Birmingham, there's nothing.
Wow,
there's nothing.
Really?
You probably have to, I think you have to drive to Huntsville, but there's literally nothing. And so it makes me wonder, how many women, especially us, are going through this and don't even know.
Wow.
But yeah, like, that was a moment, like, it's crazy. I have this bracelet that I wear. I rarely take it off, and it says choose joy. And it was through that time I really realized that joy really is a choice. Yeah, it's a choice. Joy and happiness are two completely different things. Just because you're experiencing joy does not mean that you're going to be happy.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's really powerful, and basically, with it, you continue to persevere, and people need to know that, though, that they did, just like you were able to confide in someone, but you also said, I got professional help. Like, you do pray with it. Nobody's saying don't pray, but it is about also you went and got some help, to see what do I do, for this. But like you were saying, even with the prayer closet, I think those together, they work together, not one other than the other, Yeah.
And it really, that time, I was talking to someone about this. It really showed me how God is a respecter of our humanity. How we can be, how complex we are as human beings, and how God understands it. Like how Paul says in 2 Corinthians 6, I'm sorrowful yet ever rejoicing. Like, I stood on that.
Yeah.
During that time, I absolutely stood on that. And it really made me realize, like, God recognizes that as humans, we're these delicate beings, right?
Right.
And how we are allowed to feel, we are allowed to grieve. We are allowed to feel sorrow. We are allowed to be sad. And you can feel all of those things and love Him. And still have sorrow. You can grieve. You can have all of these things. I mean, not feel sorry. You can grieve, and you can be experiencing all these things and still love God, and still believe that He is good. You see it all through the Bible. David, he was suffering from depression. We know Saul, he almost lost his mind. Job, like there are these cases of all these men and women who were living life and experiencing anxiety and experiencing depression and really having challenges of being attacked, their mental health being attacked, and God still used them, and God still loved them, and they still love God. Right. And so, yeah, that really taught me that I'm a fallible human. Because of sin, I have deteriorating flesh that goes into even mental health. But that doesn't mean that God isn't good. That doesn't mean that I still don't believe He is good. I'm still a Christian, even though I'm feeling this way. You know?
Yeah. That's powerful. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
But I'm on the other side, and I'm
That's
and it gave me just a completely different level of empathy for mental health that I did not have before, because I was really one of those, get over it, you'll be all right, walk it off.
But
No,
that's
not how it works.
yeah. No, I mean, but even with that, and that's the part of it too. With you, like you're saying, you overcame that. That's something that you did go through, and I'm grateful for you being able to share that, because someone needs to hear that. It's definitely encouraging, but to know that they don't have to stay there. They can get the help they need. They can believe and stand on their faith, and then get to the other side where they're able to tell about it and share that it's possible, and not have to have that ending like you were saying with your mom. You said it was a friend of hers, where she's no longer with us,
Oh yeah, that was in a mom's group that I'm in.
Oh, mom,
Yeah,
I got you. Okay, a mom's group. I got you.
yeah.
So,
And now I also say, like, for anybody who's hearing me, we have conditioned mothers in particular to believe that feeling of being on edge, that feeling of being stressed all the time, that feeling of thinking that something's going to happen, that's normal, because we've been told women are emotional and women worry. No. Like, yes, women worry, you should worry about your kids, but if you're having just these racing thoughts and you know something's off, that's not healthy.
Absolutely.
And so don't believe that narrative that it is healthy. You shouldn't be living in this tormented state of constantly thinking that something's going to happen. Looking out the window, going checking on your baby every 15 seconds. Like, no, that's not normal. That was another thing. That's what kept me from reaching out for so long, because I was like, okay, this is what mothers feel.
Yeah.
No.
And that's a lie, it so is, but that is how we've been conditioned. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Where it doesn't stop just when you have the children. I think that, and I mean, well, when they're first born, it's, it's even continuous with, this is what we're supposed to. No, we're not. We're not perfect. That's not what we're supposed to be for them. We're not to be perfect. And what you said earlier, we're to be stewards. That's the bottom line. And to know that, their creator, God the Father, he has them. We are to do our parts, but we are not to stress over how it's going to get done, because that's not what we do. But yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate you, like I said, for sharing that part. And we're going to get into our closing segment. It's called Matters of the Heart Moment. And the first question is, if you had the opportunity to speak to your 4-year-old self, what would you say to her?
I would tell her to absolutely, positively do not listen to people telling her what she can't or should not do. If you want to be a scientist, you be a scientist. If you want to play outdoors, you do it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having unique interests. When you are in your 30s, you'll finally get that. So do it now. And don't get a perm. That's what I would tell her.
Okay. All right.
Don't get a perm.
Don't get a perm. All right.
And your interests are fine.
That's perfect. And who motivates you?
Honestly, my little tribe. My husband is my hype man.
All right. Look.
Like, he gases me up. He gases me up. He is my hype man. He is my biggest motivator. And I never really admitted that until this moment, actually. But he really is.
I'll make sure he listens. So you really get some extra brownie points for that. That's awesome. And what is the best piece of advice you've ever gotten?
The best piece of advice I ever gotten was from one of my the very first boss that I had, and he told me this FDR quote: "Be sincere, be brief, be seated." and I could probably get it tattooed on my neck. But that's the best advice that I was given, because we were in a meeting and I was being extremely long-winded, and he broke it down for me. He was like, look, you're a woman, okay? And you're going to be in spaces where you're the only woman, and people won't take you seriously when you use too many words. Be sincere, be brief, be seated.
Wow. Okay. Okay. And is there anything you would like to share with our audience? Any last minute piece of advice?
This was fun. No, I touched on things during this podcast I didn't think I was going to touch on.
Wow.
But no, man, this was awesome, Latasha. This was really cool. You're really good at interviewing.
Well, thank you. Look, this is my, you're number 15, my 15th episode. So I think from the first one to now, I appreciate you for saying that for real. Like, I know, I'm not saying anybody else could have told me, but I do appreciate you.
Yeah.
I do appreciate you for sharing that, because I trust, as relates to things like that, what you have to say. And so thank you. I'm so glad you enjoyed it, Kelly.
I'm glad we finally got to.
I know, right? Like, people don't know what behind the scenes it took to get to. It took us to get. But we got to do what we got to do. That's what it takes, So I definitely, Kelly, thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing with us, because you really, you shared a lot. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Awesome. You're welcome. And our goal at the Flora Pearl Foundation is to be a blessing to all of those that we come in contact with by operating with the spirit of excellence. We want to thank you all for listening today, and you can visit our website at www.florapearlfoundation.org. We look forward to spending time with you all each week, and we will talk to you soon.